Hello, everyone. Here we are approaching the end of the first day of B-Belt 2024. After all of today's activities, starting with the opening ceremony this morning and the wonderful talks, teachings, and sharings you've attended and been part of since then, I've been backstage for some time and really enjoying everybody's talk, especially Milton's that just went by. It's time now to wind down so that we can naturally start to process everything we've learnt. You know, there was a time when I was teaching well into the evening and starting very early the next morning. And I remember the whirling in my mind long after getting back home from work and even getting into bed. I just couldn't seem to switch off, even when I was exhausted. And there came a point where I knew that it wasn't sustainable to continue running at such a hectic pace. I was like the rider on a galloping horse. Have you heard that joke? So there's this rider on a horse that's galloping and galloping through the forest and through branches and twigs, and it's just running and running and galloping, and it overtakes a group of people and just whizzes by, and one of the bystanders shouts out, "Hey, where are you going?" And the rider turns back and says, "I don't know, ask the horse." So many of us live our lives that way, running from our fears and traumas, from one activity to the next, ticking off items on our to-do list, engrossed in our anxiety, our worries, and forgetting the simple joys and wonders that are always available. Our eyes that can see, our heart that beats, the blue sky, the clouds, the singing of birds, the beauty of nature. Jen Sincero, one of my favorite motivational light reads of the last few years, says, "It's absolutely critical for our health and our growth to relax, lean back, sweat pant it, breathe, receive, and recharge." She goes on to emphasize that there is nothing worse than guilting yourself into feeling you should be doing something when the most important thing you can do for yourself is unplug. Not the easiest trick to pull off in our achievement-obsessed culture, but a skill well worth giving yourself permission to hone. Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us in his letter to a young teacher that our mission as teachers is not just to transmit knowledge, but to form human beings, to construct a worthy, beautiful human race in order to take care of our precious planet. The other day, I was watching one of these YouTube shorts with English physicist Brian Cox, who explains that if we imagine, because this is what we know, that in our galaxy of 400 billion suns, there's just us who think, because there are microbes all over the place, but in terms of things that think and can feel and bring meaning to the universe, to appreciate the beauty of these galaxies. And so if that's it, if it's just us in this galaxy, the decisions we make now as a civilization have galactic implications. We see that harmful actions arise from anger, fear, greed, and intolerance, and that there is a great deal of discomfort, let's call it suffering, in our students. Parents cannot communicate with each other, and so it's difficult for parents and children to communicate with each other. As teachers, we may be the only source of understanding, calm, and well-being that our students have. There's this kind of loneliness, a vacuum that people try to fill up with video games, movies, television, food, drugs, and other things. This makes the work of teaching a lot more difficult. We ourselves, as teachers, have difficulties too. We try our best, but our environment, our family, our colleagues at work, all have a lot of suffering and discomfort in them. But if we as teachers, along with our colleagues, are not happy and well, how can we expect our students to be happy and well? This is a very important question. We tend to think of our job as teachers we tend to think that our job as teachers is to impart knowledge and information. But in order to do that effectively, we need to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves first. We may not yet have enough patience, understanding, freshness, and compassion to be able to confront all this suffering. My father used to say, there are 24 hours in the day, 8 hours to work, 8 hours to play, and 8 hours to sleep. But as we become adults, we get caught up in the working, and we work a lot longer than those 8 hours. And we undervalue sleep and rest, and sleep a lot less than those 8 hours. Society tells us that time is money and values us according to our daily level of productivity. So it's easy to overlook the importance of rest for our mental and physical well-being. Under these circumstances, the simple act of stopping and doing nothing other than enjoying the relaxation of our body and mind can be considered a revolutionary act. There are so many conditions of happiness. We don't need more. Many people mix up happiness with excitement, but excitement is not exactly happiness. When you're excited, there's not enough peace in you, and the happiness isn't real. Happiness is not made with objects of craving, like fame, power, wealth, and sensual pleasure. It's made with understanding and compassion. Letting go of our constant pursuit of things that await us in the future robs us of the wonder of being alive.